He was born weak, but after being taken in by the strongest S-rank mage, with nothing but determination, he trained endlessly. His hands bruised, his body broken, but his spirit unshaken. Years passed and the boy, who once couldn't cast a single spell, became a force to be feared. Yet even his master didn't know hidden deep within him was a dark magic, powerful enough to shake the world. It all begins in a ruined city where a woman finds a boy named Lloyd staring at something. It's not revealed yet what the boy is seeing, but the woman believes that with this kid on her team, she can win and defeat the demon lord. She lets go of her emotions and hugs Lloyd, who's still completely spaced out. Shortly after, she brings him to her house and shows him that she can summon fire from her hands using magic. This is the first time Lloyd witnesses something surreal like this, but the woman still tells him to replicate what she just did or else he won't be getting any dinner. Without any instructions, knowledge, or anything at all, the boy tries, and by the end of the day, he actually succeeds in summoning a tiny ball of flames. The woman is impressed, but not enough, and she literally burns the boy in flames, telling him he still has a long way to go. The next morning, she teaches Lloyd how to summon water by kicking the ground in a certain way, and Lloyd does it on his first attempt. But he only manages to make the ground wet, so the woman isn't impressed and punishes him by drenching him in a pool of water. She also teaches Lloyd wind magic, and as their training continues, in just a few months, Lloyd masters ice magic as well and manages to create an ice statue that looks exactly like the woman. Lloyd, who now considers the woman as his master, believes that he's finally managed to impress her, but the woman still isn't satisfied as she believes that the boy lacks power. To show him the difference between their strength levels, she uses her magic to make the statue grab Lloyd, then increases its size before destroying it. Realizing how powerful his master is, Lloyd becomes determined to work even harder and continues to train restlessly. One day, his master drinks too much alcohol and falls ill because of it. Lloyd surprisingly heals her in an instant, indicating that she's taught him healing magic as well. She hugs him for healing her, but she claims that it's still not enough to impress her and immediately tells him to go do more magic training. After several months of training, Lloyd's master is seen holding a grimoire. She's worried about something and is caught off guard when Lloyd enters her room. The grimoire falls from her hands, and as Lloyd picks it up for her, something triggers, causing the boy to faint. This phenomenon makes his master realize that Lloyd has the potential to become the chosen one too. The way she phrases it makes it seem like she is also the chosen one, but I'm not entirely sure. Regardless, she doesn't want Lloyd to make the same mistake she did. She doesn't want him to grow overconfident in his abilities, so she kisses him on the forehead while he's asleep, putting a spell on him that I'm guessing limits his powers. The next morning, she tells Lloyd about the term white mage. According to her, Lloyd too is a white mage, and mages like him generally perform helpful magic for the betterment of others. In any case, she gives Lloyd the task of using his healing magic on an apple tree to make the apple bigger. Lloyd does that, but his master demonstrates how she can effortlessly make the entire tree fill with apples. Later at night, during Lloyd's magic lessons, he gets interested in a specific term called ancient magic, but his master tells him that he doesn't need to learn about such a thing, as it went extinct centuries ago. She teaches him more complex magic, like space magic, which allows the user to unsummon and summon items at will. The training continues, and when Lloyd's master thinks she can take his training to the next level, she blindfolds him and brings him to an unknown forest full of monsters. She hands him nothing but a small kitchen knife and tells him to survive using magic, then return home within a week. Wishing him good luck, she takes off at the speed of light, leaving Lloyd scared for life. Seconds later, a wolf monster enters the scene and chases Lloyd all around the forest. He manages to escape by climbing on top of a tall tree and wonders what he should do. Using his space detection skill, he locates his master's house far north from his location, then begins his journey there on foot. At night, Lloyd uses healing magic to ripen wild fruits, which he eats for dinner. He hides inside a small cave and starts working on a magic circle that might help him increase his physical strength. He creatively modifies all his spells so they can boost his base stats upon activation. The next day, as he ventures through the forest, he accidentally enters the queen spider's nest. As the spider attacks him, he runs in the opposite direction and by activating one of his modified spells, increases his speed by at least 10 times. In that one sprint, he reaches his master's home and faints at the front door from exhaustion. She opens the door and with a smile, welcomes him back home. More time passes and Lloyd grows taller. He gains more freedom to explore his master's house, and one day while cleaning her study room, he comes across a book about cities. He gets interested in it, as he's never experienced living in a populated place. In the meantime, his master starts experimenting with various things and makes him her personal apprentice, not allowing him to get a sound sleep for weeks. On this fateful day, the master wakes up and walks to the rooftop to meet Lloyd as usual. Her intention remains the same, grill him severely until he can no longer walk. However, by the time she gets to the room, he isn't there. She sees that he was last reading a book and she looks at it. On the other hand, Lloyd finds his way into the city. It seems that is his first time getting into the marketplace and he can see several people. The crowd there amazes him. He barely even knows that there are that many people around him. It is amusing to say the least. He doesn't have a mission and he just hangs around. As he stands there, a flyer hangs on his face. He assumes it was just the breeze, but it wasn't. It is actually quite intentional, as a man had thrown it at him. He picks it up and reads that a team is looking for an adventurer. Since he has nothing to do at the moment, he decides to go there and see what is happening. When he gets there, he sees they are having an adventurer party. The team is fighting with a monster, and they are injured. The leader of the team is a hero named Alan, and he commands his mage to cast the recovering power. The mage immediately casts the power and the fight continues. She also uses her power to bind the monster so Alan can defeat it. Alan defeats the monster and the others go there to hype him up for his good works. Lloyd is bored of the entire scene, so he walks away. Outside, the villagers talk about how great Alan is and how he had just defeated the Cyclops of Abertuff Castle with his team. The adventuring team gets to their lodge, and Alan shares the money they had gotten. He gives Lloyd a token and Lloyd takes it without complaints. He tells Lloyd that the money is his portion as a deranked adventurer, but Lloyd isn't bothered. He just walks away without complaining. The other adventurers wonder why he is that proud and doesn't even speak. Alan in his pride says they don't have to worry about him because white mages aren't even important in quests. They are only there to increase the pride of the party. Lloyd hears this, but he isn't worried. He locks the door behind him and walks away. Meanwhile, his master receives a visitor at home. The visitor is the same man who had thrown the flyer at Lloyd earlier. He tells her that Lloyd had joined the hero's party and his master is glad about that. She doesn't have an issue with whatever he does with his life as long as he doesn't get proud. The man asks her if she still regrets what happened to her, and she says she doesn't want it to repeat itself again. He reminds her that the demon lord wanted to self-destruct with the book if she had let him do that. They recall the day of the fight with the demon lord. Everyone had died, and they saw Sybil stand up from the crowd and use the ancient magic to revive everyone that had died from the battle, even at the expense of his life. At the moment, the hero party are having another fight, and even before the fight starts, everyone hypes the team up and says great things about them. They are all sure that the party will be winning the fight as usual. Without wasting any time at all, Alan finishes up the battle and returns home to a team screaming his name and pride. When they get home, the tank of the party, Sheena, takes it upon herself to read more because she feels they can get better. As she reads, Alan comes to meet her and wonders why she is taking time to read. She says it is because she feels their defense is getting weak. He doesn't feel the same. In fact, according to him, he is getting stronger. She complains that she hasn't seen him train again for some time, and he proudly says he has no reason to train because he is simply unstoppable. She looks at him without saying a word. That evening, the soldiers at the riverbank get attacked by a golem and they are all killed. The country immediately sends someone to Alan to inform him of the new mission, and he accepts the mission to kill the golem. He goes to the river with his team and Lloyd uses his power to find out the location of the golem. By the time they attack the monster, they see another monster standing with a staff. Lloyd warns that the monster is a demon race and his power is in the staff which he is using to control the golem. Alan asks a member of the party, Lulu, to throw her arrow against the golem, which she does, and he also commands Mia to set out to fight, and she gets ready. He plans to forge ahead and fight the golem head-on, but Lloyd thinks it is a reckless attempt. He says he has engaged the golem well and knows his strength, let alone weakness, so Alan should calm down. Alan reminds him that he is the leader of the party and he commands the team. Alan runs to fight, but feeling protective, Lloyd goes faster than him and pushes him from the golem. Alan pushes Lloyd away and attacks the golem, who dies immediately. This shows that Lloyd's prophecy of the situation was wrong and he isn't good. By the time they get home, Alan complains that Lloyd hadn't done anything for the party since he joined and had left all the recovery and healing work for Mage alone. Because of that, he should leave the party. Lloyd admits that they may be right and he is indeed weak, so he leaves as the other members of the party celebrate the good riddance to his rubbish. For 3 days, he tries getting another party to join to no avail. After another disappointing no from a party, he overhears a lady screaming that she needs an unaffiliated white mage, and she needs it as soon as possible. The guild attendant asks her if she wants Lloyd. She turns to Lloyd, asks him if he is unaffiliated, and when he says yes, she drags him away and runs with him. What does Lloyd's future say? Will he eventually know how strong he is? Lloyd wanders around the city, still feeling sad over the fact that he was fired from his party by Alan. He recalls Alan's accusations, where he said Lloyd is a useless white mage who only hides behind their team and isn't useful at all. The only thing he's good for is healing, and even Sheena can do a better job at that. Lloyd asks Alan if he really thinks he lacks skills, and Alan doesn't bother replying, telling him to think whatever he wants and leave already. As he walks away, the girls except Sheena loudly express how glad they are that this loser is finally out of their team. In any case, Lloyd goes to the center of town where he comes across a fountain with a statue on top that looks just like his master, and it makes him miss him even more. On the other side, a group of adventurers are on their way to raid a bandit territory. This is an A-ranked quest, so they need to proceed with caution. The ginger in their team, Crumb, is visibly upset for some reason and has lost all motivation to do the quest. Regardless, they begin their attack, striking before the bandits can counter. The mage and their team, Silica, chants loudly before activating her spell, and one of the bandits, noticing that flaw, tells his comrades to attack the adventurers only after the mage is done chanting. They move forward while shielding themselves, and when Silica gets tired after chanting, they attack. But the archer in the adventurer team, Cross, has Silica's back from a distance, and he pierces all of the bandits with his arrow in one shot. It seems their party is pretty balanced, as even the swordsman in their team, Yui, who's also the leader, can hold her ground comfortably. Even when she slips up the tank in their team, Dagas protects her using his shield. Crumb uses her magic to physically enhance Daga's strength, and with that boost he overpowers the bandits, helping them win the battle. The boss of the bandits panics, looking for a way to escape. But before he can do anything, Yui finds him and tells him to surrender without resisting. The boss demands Yui explain exactly who she is and why they attacked them out of nowhere. That's when he notices the gold pendant on her neck, a badge that signifies she's an S-ranked adventurer, and it's not just her. Everyone in her party is S-ranked, which means they're kind of a big deal around here. The boss bandit has one last card to play. He believes that even if they're all S-ranked, they won't be able to beat what he's about to summon. Using his staff, he activates a summoning spell, and a giant golem rises from the ground. Against this golem, magic is going to be rendered useless, so Crumb and Silica, 2 out of the 5, can't do anything. The archer Cross also doesn't think his arrows will deal much damage, so only the tank Dagas and the swordsman Yui can fight properly. Yui, as the leader, confidently charges first and hits the golem with her sword with all her strength, but the golem easily tanks it and is barely scratched. The ginger girl Crumb, who's been out of it from the beginning, spaces out again and doesn't hear when Yui tells her to boost her strength. Yui literally has to scream at her to get her attention, and when she finally snaps out of it, she casts the physical enhancement spell. With the boost, Yui's power increases at least 5-fold, and she slices the golem in half with one strike. With the mission done, they capture all the bandits, including the boss, and Yui approaches Crumb to talk about what happened earlier. Crumb apologizes for getting distracted and says she's no longer worthy of being called an adventurer. Yui understands Crumb's situation. Apparently her worries are related to her sister Sylvie, and Yui asks how Sylvie is doing these days. But before she can answer, the scene shifts to Lloyd, who's now on his 3rd day of failing to get into any team. Lloyd overhears someone shouting at the counter, saying she needs a white mage, and it's actually Yui, who I guess has already kicked Crumb out of the team. Lloyd grabs the opportunity and tells Yui that he's a white mage. She doesn't even bother asking his rank and grabs his hand, dragging him to her party's base. She introduces Lloyd to the team and officially welcomes him, even though he hasn't agreed to join yet. Yui's comrades immediately realize she brought Lloyd here without explaining anything to him, which is something she usually does. Cross explains that the only reason they're in such a hurry is because they have an urgent quest, and without Crumb they can't do it. None of them think Lloyd is a good replacement, and even Lloyd himself doesn't have the guts to prove otherwise, especially after learning they're an S-ranked adventurer party. Although he's already given up on himself, Yui hasn't, and she forces him to show his magic. Lloyd thinks he'll just let them down, but he gives it a shot anyway and summons a staff using storage magic, which is enough to make them realize this guy might actually be good. Then, without even chanting, he physically enhances all of their strength. Nobody feels the boost at first, but Yui tests it anyway. With a simple flick of her sword, she slices through a tree like butter, leaving everyone stunned. Lloyd explains that he not only used physical enhancement but also layered several other enhancements that massively boosted Yui's power. That seals the deal. Crumb is nowhere near Lloyd's level, but Lloyd himself still seems completely unaware of how overpowered he actually is. Lloyd explains that the reason he had invoked 5 different enhancement magics on them is because he assumes if he uses just one for a team of skilled adventurers like them, it will be mediocre, and they won't like it. Knows they are the highest ranked level of adventurers and he just wants to impress them. However, seeing their stunned expression, he assumes that he was wrong and what he had done was just mediocre. There is one thing about being talked down to, it is the fact that it completely reduces your self-esteem, and for him, his self-esteem at the moment is on the floor. He assumes he didn't impress them and tells them he doesn't want to be a useless addition to them, so he walks away. At first they are too stunned to speak. Yui quickly gathers herself and screams as loud as her voice can go, telling him to please come back. He returns to them to at least hear what they want to say. He tells them about where he is coming from and how the heroes team had sent him away because he was useless. Yui is shocked that he had even worked for the heroes team, but he tells them they don't have to be amazed because he isn't that good. Wow, that boy's self-esteem is in hell. He advises that they return to their former white mage because that is better for them. They tell him about Crumb. She is good and she worked with them. However, she has a sister, Sylvie, who was sick. Previously she worked as an adventurer and still took care of her sister, but recently she had been very tired and it is also affecting her work ethic. In their last fight she got distracted and almost sacrificed the entire team. Even though they were all fine with her remaining with them, she is so concerned about them that she decided to resign. Normally they can survive on adventures without a white mage. However, when they want to take an A-rank job, they have to get a white mage because they can't survive without one. Aside from the fact that Crumb was a great addition to their team, they also see her as a good friend. Yui says she is worried about her and the others also express their worries too. Lloyd can see that they are indeed worried and wonders if they took her more as a friend than a teammate. And when they say yes, he thinks about how lucky she must be for having such lovely teammates compared to the ones he had before. He asks about the nature of Sylvie's sickness and finds out she is turning into a magic stone. He recalls a time when he was reading a book about magic stones with his master and asked if the condition was reversible and she said yes. Seeing that he could help, he asks Yui to take him to Crumb's house. They arrive at Crumb's house and she opens the door. They sit to have a conversation and he asks her about the sickness. She reveals that she and her sister were both adventurers. One day they took a mission and while on the mission, Sylvie got injured. She didn't know what happened to Sylvie because she wasn't there and just met her injured. Lloyd asks about the nature of the sickness and Crumb decides to take them to Sylvie's room instead. Upon opening the door, Lloyd can feel the entire magic power coming from that room. Crumb goes closer and removes the cover, which shows that Sylvie's legs and hands are already stone. She reveals that eventually Sylvie will be covered in stone. Lloyd tells her he thinks he could heal Sylvie, but Crumb doesn't believe him. She had contacted several advanced mages and there was nothing they could do, so she doesn't think an ordinary white mage can do anything. However, Lloyd asks her if the injury happened in a cave and Crumb shockingly replies affirmatively. He checks where the injury started and confirms that the invading magic power is causing the magic stone symptoms. Crumb still has many doubts about him, but he tells them that his master said it could work. Yui also advises Crumb to trust Lloyd, so she decides to let him give it a try. He goes for it and brings out his staff. He casts a powerful magic that makes him feel weak. He tells them that he has cast a magic that will reverse the magic power overflowing in Sylvie's body. The cause of the issue was the overflowing power, so if he could bring the power down, he would be able to heal her. He then casts a healing spell immediately. When he does that, Crumb looks at him in awe and tells him that the healing power he is using isn't a usual one. He admits that it is a different one and it consumes more magic power. However, he insists that it is just an ordinary healing spell and continues. Yui asks Crumb what she thinks about the power, and Crumb can't help but admit that the magic is anything but ordinary. It is even amazing that Lloyd is casting two different magic at the same time and still has the power and mental strength to sustain them both. Yui calls Crumb's attention to the fact that Sylvie's body is returning. She goes to hold her sister's hand as Sylvie returns to her normal self. They are all shocked and happy. Crumb is more than grateful, but she reveals she won't be able to return to the team because once her sister recovers, they will start adventuring together. She offers to take them out later to appreciate. She tells Lloyd that she is sure the team is safe with him, but he replies that he isn't a member of the team yet, and she is shocked that he still doubts himself. The party goes out for dinner, and Yui tells the others the crazy thing Lloyd did and how Sylvie recovered magically. Irrespective of how much she makes him feel good, Lloyd still thinks he isn't enough, which makes her tell him to stop being modest. She tells him that he has done so well, but he still doesn't think it is a big deal. He apologizes to the team that he couldn't get Crumb to return to them, but that isn't their worry yet. They want to celebrate first before thinking about the future. They start talking about what their future will be, and Lloyd thinks about the heroes team and how they made him feel compared to how he feels now. He asks them if he could join them, and they are shocked because he had earlier rejected them. They reveal that they also want to work with him, and he officially joins the party. I am so excited about this new team.